morning, folks. Once again, we are here to deliver some news to you. We have just come back from the General Conference, a big session for this church. We are now relaxed at home, ready to start tomorrow and move again to the mission of the church. As you know, this is me, Zuki from the Word Lives Ministries. Today, we are visiting with a friend of mine, a pastor who has mentored me and has shown me the way in many ways. My good friend, Pastor Papu. How are you, Mfundis?
I'm good.
All right, man.
Lord is good.
Amen. Now, as you know, folk, the Word Lives Ministry, we out there delivering churches and church buildings. But again, the mission of this ministry is not just about brick and mortar, but about people.
Souls.
About souls. So we always want to have a special talk with you from our pastors that we minister with in this gospel. Fundisi, we have the Sabbath School Quarterly lesson number 6 that I was looking at the other day. It is still to come. I want to read the memory verse and maybe have you share on this quarterly. The memory verse for it is found, folks, in Esther, the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 14. And it reads as follows: "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." So as I pondered about this, I thought about you, Mfundis, and I said, man, share with us, Pastor. Tell us more. What is this all about?
Thank you very much. You will remember that our focus in our Bible study, because this is basically our Bible study, a weekly Bible study.
Right.
The focus for the whole 3 months is on missionaries in the Bible.
Right.
People call missionaries. So the studies every week we look at certain individuals who were missionaries, who were actually living to spread the mission of God. You know, sometimes when we think of missionaries, we think of modern missionaries who came from West, who came to Africa, came to evangelize and went to Asia, South America. But now the focus is, maybe we had forgotten that even in the Bible, those characters in the Bible, even though they're not called missionaries, because the word missionary is not in the Bible, but what they did is what has made us to say there is something called a missionary. For example, the previous lesson was looking at missionaries in exile, those who were in Babylon, even though they were taken there as exiles. But that turned out to be a missionary, a mission for them. They started preaching God even though they were there, not because they had planned, not because they organized a ticket to go and evangelize, but they evangelized in any case. And that's the beauty of missionaries. Missionaries don't need to be structured and to be organized. Wherever they find themselves, that is a field. They preach. So this week's lesson is looking at Esther and Mordecai. They are in Persia. They are not exiles per se, because remember now, those who were exiles had been given the opportunity to return back. So those who remained may have remained because of assignments and because of other things. So they were not treated as exiles. They were not treated as slaves and treated negatively, because they still had an opportunity if they wanted to go back home. But we don't know the circumstances, but they are in Persia and they are Jews. But the memory text that you have quoted actually is the crux of the whole book. Named after Esther, a woman. Isn't that beautiful? Named after Esther. She's actually the queen. She is actually the queen and the main character in the book, together with her cousin and her not stepfather, but one who acted like her father, Mordecai. Both of them, and they're Jews. So the book of Esther is about these two who actually stood for God and acted and worked as missionaries in Persia. Now, the text you just read sums up exactly what we mean by missionaries. It says, now from Mordecai to Esther, and we're not going to give the background because Esther was afraid to stand out and represent God and actually intervene so that the Jews would not be killed because there was a decree to kill all the Jews. So he says, if I go, I'll be killed. Mordecai says, listen, you are here for that purpose. You are here to serve God. You thought, now he's addressing the queen. He says, the fact that you're a queen has nothing to do with your beauty. God has allowed you to be the queen so that God can use you as his instrument.
Okay.
That's the main purpose of your existence.
Right.
Now, it appears, therefore, that the reason why Mordecai and Esther were in Persia was so that God could use them to save Israel, to save the Jews who had remained behind. Now, if Esther now refuses to do what God had designed for her,
okay,
Mordecai says, then you will die.
Then you are going to
you have to die, because if you don't live up to the purpose of your existence, then there's no use for you. And what is striking is, if you die, don't think that the mission will die. You will die, somebody else will do what you have not done. It then says to us that, number one, we are not irreplaceable. If we don't do God's work, somebody else will do it. It reminds me of the incidents in the New Testament.
Right.
If you don't shout, the rocks will shout.
Okay.
In other words, God is not dependent on us. If we don't do the work, He'll talk to the rocks, and the rocks will run around and be missionaries. I don't want the rocks to take my place. I don't know about you.
No, not at all. So I'm going to take my part.
So Esther got the whole idea. Says, hey, we are in trouble here. I've got a role to play.
Right.
But also, it also highlights the uniqueness of each person.
Right.
That you are here for a purpose. There's something you can do for God. So life is not just random. You just happen to be here. My mother and my father met. No, there is a purpose. And when you live up to that purpose, then you can never be forgotten.
Right.
So Esther embraces the whole idea. She even says later on, if I perish, I perish.
Yes.
Now, which means I'm not here to protect my life.
Right.
I'm here to save. If in the process of serving I perish, then let it be. But I'm going to see the king.
I will have done
because this is my assignment. This is my task. Now, you see, now what you see now is that the mission usually and often is bigger than the missionary. So the missionary can die, but the mission continues. So the missionary says, I'd rather die, but I've got to do the mission. And she goes, and you know the story in the book of Esther. Right. And I wish the listeners can go read the story. She saved the whole nation of the Jews. Yes. Because of that, today the Jews celebrate Purim. They remember Esther thousands of years ago, almost 3,000 years. They still talk about Esther. But if Esther had not done that, we would be talking about Esther today. So those who die in the mission will never be forgiven. Will never be forgotten. In other words, if you die for mission, you remain alive even though you are dead. Because your story keeps bringing souls to Christ. Whenever people talk about your story, people will say, wow, is that true? How many people, because of this story, have actually committed their lives to God? So Esther still speaks today, even though she's dead. Right. She's still a missionary. That influence is still with us. Wow. Let's quickly talk about Mordecai. Mordecai will feel jealous if you don't say anything.
Oh, yes.
Mordecai's role is not as glamorous as Esther. He's not there in the forefront. Okay. All he does is faithful to God. Right. When this other Naaman is honored, so Naaman, everybody trembled before Naaman because they are trying to get attention and maybe get some tenders from Naaman, you know. but Mordecai, no, he doesn't tremble, and he picks an issue with that Naaman, and he says there in chapter 6, why is this one not trembling? Because all of them are bowing before me, and this one is not bowing. Now, even though the book of Esther doesn't mention the name of God, but you see that name everywhere. Because if Mordecai was not bowing to Naaman, where was he bowing? To whom was he bowing? It's clear. He was bowing to God. I can't bow to God and bow to Naaman. So if you have a problem, then deal with it. I'm not going to bow to, but not in a very irresponsible and arrogant way, but just saying, I worship God, I bow, I tremble before God. I will not tremble before you. You know how the story turned out? The one who actually started coming up with a plan to kill Mordecai was the one who was actually killed in the very gallows that he had constructed for. But there's something I like, which is amazing. In chapter 6, Zeresh, who is supposed to be the wife to Naaman, when Haman, it's not Naaman, Haman. When Haman tells his wife that, hey, this is what has happened, I've been humiliated before the king because of Mordecai. And then this is what Zeresh says to the husband. If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish descent, you will not prevail against him, but you will surely fall before him. Now what this woman is telling us is that the God of the Jews you cannot touch.
Okay.
If you begin to fight now with Mordecai, your case is closed, you are finished. And this is the wife who's supposed to be romantic and even lie and says, honey, there's no one who can defeat you.
Yeah.
He says, you are fighting against the Jews, you are finished. I have no husband, now you are finished. You have started your fall. Because the Jews were known at that time that they belonged to God. Even though they had been exiles, but there were stories of how God delivered them.
Yes.
So this woman knew that this is the end of the husband. God was known. And how was God known? Because there were people who were faithful, like Daniel. We spoke about Daniel and the Hebrew boys and others. And also people like Esther and Mordecai. So there is nowhere where there is no pulpit for a missionary. Everywhere he goes, he finds a pulpit. By doing a faithful job, by being sincere and honest, by being reliable, by standing for God when others are afraid to do so. Wow. And we see that in the life of Esther and Mordecai.
I'm happy for this. Now let's motivate someone right now, today. A business person, an executive, someone who is really been blessed by God in their skill, in their business, in their whatever their line of work. And this person wants to serve God. How can they balance the two? As you know, folks, we will be moving tomorrow to Zimbabwe to start our missionary work there of building churches. We have taken our skill as architects, as builders, as construction to use it for God. But how can somebody else find this balance, especially when we look at the lives of these guys?
I think it starts with the passion. I think we need to be able to say, everything I want to do, I want to link it to God's plan, to God's mission.
Okay.
And God's mission is about saving souls.
All right.
Now, once you know what God wants, and then you say, what do I have in my hand? Okay. In other words, what has God given me?
Yeah.
God has given me this skill. I'm an advocate. I'm a doctor. I'm this. How am I going to use this in order to serve God? Now, the moment you think like that, you will be forced to excel. Because if you stand for God, what you do must stand out. You cannot do a shoddy work and expect that God is going to be praised. So you cannot also find devious ways of getting contracts and then you say, I want to praise God. If God's will is that you should actually do this, then there's no one who's going to take that from you. You can trust Him. And what we are saying is the duty that lies ahead of you is what God expects you to do. And you do it to the best of your ability, and then God will be praised in that. You find whatever you have in your hand, link it to God's mission, and then I'm an advocate. How can I represent God here? You start with your colleagues. That your colleagues must know that this one is a Christian. This one is a representative of God. And you know what happens? When people know what to stand for, whenever they are in your company, they choose what to say.
Of course.
They can't just talk about whatever. Because your life, your presence is a sermon. It's a sermon in one way or the other.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Mfundi Swami. It was a pleasure having you. Folk, that's Zuki Mtoli signing off. Arise, shine, Jesus is coming.
And go and be a missionary. God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you.